Turn up my mic.
a story of how the host Ken originated because I mean, I'm still running the channel, but I
It,
mostly only, like on.
it was in a vat, actually, a petri dish initially. It's where I found my first flowerings. But go ahead, continue.
um, I still am around the channel, but I mostly just, I still watch a lot of Eric's music videos, and then every so often I watch his vlogs when there is one. And when there's some juicy drama going on, I gotta jump into that too. But yeah, I know that you've been a part of the channel for a while now, and I enjoy your solo videos too.
Well, thank
But
you.
I don't remember when you like came in, or I feel like you came in before I left, kind of. But it was like a weird. I don't know.
I
We
had
never really.
my I had my typing video right around the time that you had the, I think it was called either TwFP or it was host Eric and host Zachary talk changes. It was that video where Eric mentions he had sent you a message that he was going to buy you out. That was, yeah, Unify got it right. Host Ken got his tits cut off in Nigeria and Eric saved him from the drug lords raping him. Done. That was it. Um, but
No, Unify. That's wrong. That's how he. That's how Eric met me. You're getting it conflated.
um,
Yeah, easy mistake. Ken and I look kind of alike.
vaguely.
Sometimes I get it mixed up. I start thinking about my origins, and I get it mixed up with Ken's origins.
Mm-hmm. Uh, so, yeah. I did my typing video. I was like, oh, I'm just going to be an introvert and hide in the back here and not cause any. And Eric's like, famous person Ken. I'm going to be typing them tonight. I was like, oh, okay. So we did that. That was fun. And then I hung around for a few weeks. Just did some videos and stuff. And then I brought up, I was like, well, you know, what would be cool is if somebody could make videos for the channel if they didn't want to make their own channel. They can just, like, make a few videos themselves. And Eric was like, yeah. And then at some point Eric was like, hey, you want to be a host? Because he just started calling me host a couple of times. So then it would turn one, I changed my name to recently appointed host Ken. I think I may have actually become the High Priest of Whimsy before I was the, before I took the title of host. I think I actually achieved High Priest of Whimsy before.
You were pretty well.
Oh yeah. It was just, it kind of happened fast, really. Took
It
about a
doesn't like
month.
it happened fast. It seemed like it didn't happen fast. But yeah, you seem like you have a good. The videos I've watched you in GTM, you're good at keeping the conversation flowing, and it seems like you're in here a lot too. And I used to be
I'm
pretty
not doing
addicted.
much else. What was that last bit?
I used to be pretty addicted to this stuff too. It gets addictive. It really is. I mean, especially
Dude,
when you upload personal videos, you know, and you see all those comments. It's very.
the always open room is an entirely different dynamic. It's like you just come in and there's people already having a party.
Mhm.
So yeah.
The other thing about the dynamic of this room is the dynamic is determined by the community as a whole, whoever's here, you know? It's not determined by there's no indicated way to use this or things you're supposed to do. So, for example, one thing you might choose to use it to do is to come in here and talk to the community about why I'm such a terrible person. And you're certainly entitled and welcome to do that.
Eric. Two on the nose, Eric.
I'm just saying you could.
Another
And I
example-
encourage you to
another
do that
example
because
could
I'm in
be,
favor of that sort of thing in general. Free expression and making sure everybody has a chance to have their voice heard.
Okay, cool story. Another example is like 9 a.m. one morning, me and Casual INTP were playing guitar. We're doing that in the Always Open room. We've had several drawing sessions. That was fun. So yeah.
What about drawing sessions? Oh, I see what you're saying. Never mind.
Drawing.
I,
We all sit
for some reason,
around
I
and
was
draw
thinking of some
pictures.
sort of like card drawing or something. I
No, no,
was,
no. Drawing and quartering. We killed a couple people.
huh. But I see what you're saying. Yeah, that's the drawing sounds pretty interesting.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, it definitely seems like the always open room has kind of developed its own. It's really helped the community kind of thrive because remember I mentioned before, does Loren still come around? He still comes around,
On
right?
occasion.
Yeah, yeah.
Saunders in on occasion.
I mean, he mentioned before that sometimes by the time that Eric and I were heading out, other people weren't really done. They were ready for more. And
Yeah.
sometimes it's hard just keeping conversation going. But if everyone comes around on their own, then it kind of develops their own community. It's
Yeah.
autonomous.
Yeah. And then Papa Eric can drop in and watch all the kids playing. And then he can be like, oh, delightful. And then, I don't know, run off to Denny's or get caught up in pruning weed or something. It means he doesn't have to stay stationary. He can move.
What's your life story here? Like what? How old are
Oh,
you?
man. How old am I?
Yeah, how old are you? Like what has your life been like the past few years? How'd you come across the channel?
I'm 21 years old. How old are you?
I'm 19.
Okay. Um, sorry, before I go into the story, you talked about Honeycrisp, and I think you were talking about related to geography or something. And I was like, we have them too. It's Ohio. It's like Southern Ohio, so it's like close enough.
We're actually pretty close then. I'm in Eastern
Yeah.
Kentucky, so.
Uh-huh. But was it Yeah. So last few years, trying to think. Last few years, well, I mean, there was like high school. I can pretty much start with school because let's start with the saucy stuff. With school, I pretty much hated it. I hated going to school a lot of the time. Well, it wasn't so much that I hated it. I hated the actual school aspects of it, like having to sit down, do the work, show your work, things like that. Um, Interestingly enough, I got in trouble in school primarily for my creative block, NI and FE. I got in trouble for daydreaming and socializing. Was primarily what I got in trouble for. So I went through school, ended up being homeschooled from 8th grade to graduation. No sort of an interesting change in pace, but the downside was I did a whole lot less of the socializing. So I spent quite a bit of time in my head. So that was a part of it. So I spent a lot of time in my head. I got out of school. I went to college for not even a full semester. Went for half of a semester. I realized, oh, this costs considerable amount of money, and I realized I don't know why the hell I'm here. So I stopped going. Stopped going to college, dropped out, got a job as a janitor. I was just sort of doing that, so that I could work while trying to figure shit out. Did that for a few months, then ended up I ended up getting a job at a warehouse, worked there for 10 months. My car got totaled, stopped working there, went back to the janitor job, and have been working there since. While I was at the warehouse job was when I first discovered MBTI. It was that 16 Personalities website. I can't remember exactly why, but I think I discovered it because at my job I wasn't feeling fulfilled at the warehouse job. Not so much in like a grand scheme, like it's not glamorous enough. It wasn't anything like that. It's just I noticed that in some ways I didn't. I was noticing that I didn't function quite like other people at the job.
Ken,
It was like
you are
yeah.
one spoiled fellow. There is nothing more fulfilling than working at the warehouse. You get to look at the order form, You get to put the order in a box. You get to close the box. You get to put something on top of it, and you get to put it on another thing. It's endless fun.
Very structured.
So, yeah, pretty structured. My favorite thing to do was bounce around from job to job to job. So I'd like to do one job in one part of the building, another job in another part of a building, another job in another part of a building. Problem is, that rarely ever happened. They just stuck me in one place for a lot of the time, so I ended up going batshit kind of slightly. But I did that. When I had first taken that 16 personalities test, I had gotten INFP. I was just like, okay, I guess that's what I am then. I guess I'm INFP or whatever. I didn't know anything about cognitive functions. FIFE, I didn't know anything about that. I just, decided, okay, I got this INFP result. Seemed fine for then. Then, after I was out of the warehouse job, I was sort of moping around the house for a while. Back at the janitor job. Spent a lot of time moping, playing video games, things like that. Then at some point I decided, okay, I'm going to start like exercising, trying to take care of my health better, things like that. So then I got into MBTI again, and I tried taking the test again. I got INFJ this time. Still didn't quite know what that meant. I was like, okay, INFJ, that's okay. I guess that's what I am now, or something like that. Was pretty much there were like things from previous years that had piled up in terms of like emotional stuff. I ended up having sort of like a existential crisis. Ended up going back to, because I was raised religious, Protestant Christian. I ended up decided to be a Christian again. That lasted for like 4 months. Died a fairly quick death around February this year.
What made you leave the faith again?
I figured I'll give it a go again because probably chances were that like the
God turned him down.
right. No, the sort of, not really arguments, but the qualms that I had with myself, I didn't realize were more or less related to my, I mean, it wasn't quite this, but in a way it was kind of like superego. It was like, like in socionic stuff like that, it was like, basically I figured, I didn't do well with the religion stuff because I just didn't do enough. I wasn't smart enough about it. It was like, I didn't take it seriously enough, or whatever. So I figured if I just was more serious and actually tried, then it would be different. I felt like I did try for quite a while, but I started noticing that as I started encountering people, pastors, their dogma, their doctrine, different things like that, I started realizing I don't agree with what these people have to say. Like, there's something off about it that I don't like.
Yeah, I grew up in a Baptist family as well, and I still have a lot of arguments with my parents. I would identify myself as a pretty religious person, but I don't view those same elements in any of the traditions today. There are obviously some remnants, but I think Protestantism is definitely completely flavored by moralism. It's just complete sentiment. It's not based on any transcendent principles. It just seems degenerate to me. And I had a lot of arguments with my parents over that when I was younger. And that I went through a similar thing that you did, actually. I left school early, and I basically lived like the neat life for a few years, like 3 years or so. I just didn't leave my room, and then I eventually got out of that. And I think coming on here definitely helped me improve my social skills. I think coming on here definitely helped me improve that, which were quite deteriorated after spending so much time alone.
Yeah.
You seemed socially capable when I first met you, Zachary, right away. You didn't seem
See,
rusty.
people tell me that, but like from my perspective, I feel like I'm barely making it. Like I feel like I'm struggling to like barely talk to people. But people tell me that I have good social skills, which is really weird. You
But
know?
I also agree that you got a lot better over the course of the time that we did them. You know, like at first you came in, I thought you were really strong, but you got a lot better. Ken's already gotten a lot better too.
Hmm.
At this, anyway. I don't know. For me, it generalizes well to social skills. I don't know if Ken really needs it to generalize well to social skills. It's probably harder for him to make media, I suspect, than just be friendly with people in the world.
The thing that's sort of still weird for me is when people give me compliments or stuff like that, or that they're honestly like, "Hey, this thing you did benefited me." It just seems odd to me because I'm not, you know, used to hearing that. Um, so yeah, yeah, I don't know.
It can be
What was it?
challenging to deal with because affirmation is a dangerous drug if you like it, you know? But from my perspective, anyway, I'm not worried about it for me just because I'm 45 and I had a long enough time of not really getting any affirmation to respect it, you know? Like I respect it for what it is, which is hard to get. This is going to be a challenge that Connor here has probably. It's going to be a challenge for you guys too. As you like, Zachary got a lot of affirmation. Hostkin's learning how Zachary was more successful right away in terms of views for sure. But in part of the reason was he was being strategic. He was making some videos that he didn't necessarily love the topic of because he knew they'd be effective, and he was right, of course, because he was this was all TI derived thinking, strategy thinking, right? So it was a very sound strategy. And in fact, those videos are still my best performing videos. You know?
INTP Love Life.
Yeah, well, the INTJ women one. Actually, I came up with the title for that though.
Yeah, that one was brilliant because like it just seems like it just I don't know. It seems like they could apply to a lot of types. Honestly, it was really right in there. And plus, the reason that INTJ was the best one is because if you go on Reddit, the INTJ subreddit, it might I don't know if it still is, but it used to be the biggest one on there. And INTJ is very, very overtyped. I got INTJ the first time I ever took one of the online tests. And it wasn't until later when I realized that I wasn't an INTJ, after I looked into the cognitive functions. But that's why that video did so well, I think, because there are so many people who mistype as that. And I feel like, in a way, they look to confirm that. They read stuff about INTJ and they want to, that to confirm that sort of platonic ideal
You
almost for them,
gave them confirmation of the fact that they're loving, they're lovable, they're loved, and they're worth the time and energy to love, right? So it's like people want to hear that about themselves. Who doesn't? No problem. There's nothing wrong with wanting to hear that about yourself. I don't think you said anything dishonest in the video. I think you were careful about that, and so it may be filled with some platitudes, but it served people's emotional needs. And INTJ women, I'm guessing, have fairly simple emotional needs, and it boils down to people think I'm not caring or don't need to be cared for, but I'm both. And you told them, yes, you are, and I recognize it, and I'm handsome young Zachary, and they just like, oh, Zachary.
Do you think that's how it was, or do you think it was more like, and then just like computer code, like certain ones and zeros ran, and they were like,
That's their
you
external
find this
display,
affirming?
but inside in their FI, it's Zachary.
Yeah, they can't get the conception of dashing INTP Zachary out of their head after those videos for sure.
But I guess where I was going with this is you guys are being tasked with learning to be gracious at a much younger age than certainly me and than a lot of people. And as a consequence, hopefully that's one of the lessons that sticks hardest because that's where the most vulnerability comes. If you're not gracious about shit, about success, then you're subject to certain kinds of attacks that you don't want to be subject to, or I don't want to be subject to anyway.
Yeah. One of the things though about the modesty or graciousness or whatever is that I feel like when you grow up in the South, and you commented on this before, that like the culture around here, it doesn't matter what an elderly person says. It does not matter. It's they have this sense of respect that you are conditioned to have toward them, and that really, lateralizes around everyone. And I noticed one thing when I went to Utah. There are people who don't have that. There are people who were very rude to me there, and it hurt my feelings. It really did hurt my feelings when I was there in Utah. There was a lot of good stuff too, but there was a few times, especially at the airport.
Was one of those people me that was rude?
No. It was mostly at the airport, like random people, just like.
Usually, when
just
people say that, and they don't say you were rude to me, Eric. Usually, when they talk about someone was rude to me, and they're talking to me, but they don't say it was me, they mean it was me.
No. I'm in general talking about the people. Being in a different city that's so far away from Southern culture. Really, I didn't realize how much of an effect a lot of that stuff has on the people around here. Because around here, it's like I feel like people are afraid to be rude because they think like their grandfather's gonna come out of nowhere and smack them in the face or something.
Hit him.
Whereas like
I like how you said so far away from Southern culture by going further south.
Well, it's like it really is different. Like I think it's not.
I know it's Southern culture, but geographically,
it's more
it's
about like the metropolitan area. The very. It was mostly the airports. Like Utah wasn't that bad, but the airports were awful. People were very rude to me, and I felt very upset. I was telling Faith about it.
In what way were they rude?
It's just like. They like bump into you and just like don't say anything, or they might like step on your stuff or something, or just.
That must be just a city thing then. I don't know.
It is a city thing. If someone bumped into me here, they would feel like they just killed my dog. Like they would really like feel bad. They might write me a letter. But
oh no.
And then the airport, they don't give a fuck. Like they got shit to do, And it is slower out here. It really is slow.
Say, this is when Zachary felt like he said, "Oh, this is just like home." Was when Delilah and him and I went down into this like little creek area, which is all wilderness. And so I was like, "Oh, this is what it's like around your house, where it's just like rivers in the back country and shit."
Yep.
So
that really was like. That was the closest thing to my home in the entire time I was out there. That really is like what it's like out here. If I go outside my house, there are just mountains and trees everywhere. You can just go out in the forest and.
For me, the only country I know is Ireland, right? Because I have family out there that live like in the countryside and it's really rural, and they live out there. But for me, I don't know if it's the Irish in general, but they don't really care. Everything's a joke. They're very, very kind of unserious people. And like, if someone bumped into you, they'd make more of a joke about it, mock you about it. I don't have the same kind of charisma. I love the charisma they do have, but it's I don't know. It's a different kind of culture there. That's the only country life I kind of know because I grew in London, so this is the very city for me.